In this video and in the next one, we're going to wire up the page that allows us to edit our notes. This is where we're going to be able to actually change the title and the note body. Now, there is a bit of work to get this done. We're going to be creating a separate HTML document, and we're going to be sending the user from one to the other based off of the actions they take. In this video, we're going to focus on just part of the entire feature. We're going to focus on getting that second HTML page set up, and we're going to focus on getting the user over to that page when they interact with the current page. We're going to send them over to the note editing page when they click a note title or when they actually click the create note button. Either way, we want to get them over to that page so they can actually change the note data. Let's go ahead and kick things off by creating that new document. We're going to add it right inside of the Notes app directory. First up, let me close down all of the To-Do app files and crack open all three of the Notes app files. This new one is going to be an HTML document, and I'll call it something like note.html. Perfect. You could even switch it up to edit.html if you want. I'll go ahead and use that. So in here, we're going to stick with a very basic HTML document for the moment. We're not going to worry about setting up those inputs. Right now, let's just set up our doc type, setting it equal to HTML. We're going to set up our HTML tag, and in there, we're going to set up the document head, and we're going to set up the document body. Perfect. In the body, let's just add some text so we can make sure we're actually viewing the page. This is the editing page. Will get the job done. Now you'll notice that we're just adding one new HTML file. We're actually going to be using and reusing this document for editing each specific note. So no matter which note you click in that notes list, we're going to bring you over to this page. But don't worry, obviously we will populate the inputs with the title and body from the notes you clicked. So the question has to be asked, how do we get the user from index.html over to edit.html and also tell edit.html which document, which to-do that the person is trying to edit? Well, let's go ahead and first pull this up in the browser. Over here, currently in our URL, we make no mention of any HTML document. That's because if you don't provide one, the browser's automatically going to look for index.html. This is the default HTML file. We could explicitly provide it, but we'd see the exact same thing. For example, / index.html, this is going to bring us to the exact same page. This URL and the previous one are identical. Now, if we want to view a HTML document other than index.html, we do indeed have to provide the document name. So right here, we provide the /, then we provide the file edit.html, and if we load that up, what do we get? We get our little page. This is the editing page. So we're able to view our page. What I want to talk about now is how we're actually going to transfer the user from one page to the other. Let's back up a bit. We're going to go back to the home page, and we're going to focus on this one. We are going to wire up the create note button to redirect the user, and then we're also going to add a link for the titles, getting the user over to that brand new page. We're going to do all of this in Visual Studio Code. Let's go ahead and start with the link. So we're going to be setting up an anchor tag. The anchor tag is how we create links in HTML. The link that we end up creating with the anchor tag, which is the tag we use to make links, is eventually going to get created via JavaScript, since we're dynamically creating a link for each note stored in the local storage database. Before we actually create it dynamically, let's just go ahead and build one out inside of one of our documents. I'm just going to put it right here temporarily. To create an anchor tag, we use the A tag. Inside of the tags, we put our link text. So my text for the link, for example. Now we also have to provide the location we want to link to, and we do this via an attribute on our element right here. The attribute is href. href, which stands for hypertext reference, gets its value set equal to the URL of the place you're trying to get to. So if I wanted to get over to google.com, I could use http://google.com, for example. Let's go ahead and actually test this out. I can save things. I can switch back over to the edit page. And right here, we have our link. If I click the link, I get brought over to google.com. So clearly our little link is working. Now let's figure out how we can link to pages inside of our web server. Now the URL right here is going to end up changing. This URL is fine when we're developing locally, but the real URL that we're going to give out to others, that's going to have basically just words like a real URL, yourcompany.com, for example. So we don't want to explicitly put this information inside of the href attribute. We can actually provide a relative URL. So this is an absolute URL. It brings you here, and it's going to bring you to the same place regardless of where you came from. So regardless of where you came from, in this case, this URL. We can also provide relative URLs, which are dependent on where you currently are. So right here, we can use //. / is going to allow us to pick a different page in our web server to go to. So we could say / index.html, for example. That's going to bring us from the edit page over to the HTML page. And it's not dependent on the temporary development URL we have up above. So this is going to stay whether or not the URL changes. No changes need to be made to the link. We can test this one out. I'm going to click the link. And now I'm brought over to the root of the notes application. So this is the technique that we're going to be using. We're going to create an anchor tag for each one of our note titles. Currently, they're in a span tag. It's going to be your job to create an anchor tag and actually link them over to the edit page. Take a few moments to knock this one out. The end result, all of these titles should be links. When I click any of them, it should bring me over to the HTML page. So you're going to have to set up the correct tag, and you're also going to have to set up the correct href value using what we just explored with relative linking. All right, pause the video. When you're done, come back and click play. All right, let's knock this one out. All we needed to do was edit inside of notes functions our generate note DOM function. This is where all of the DOM gets generated. The first thing I'm going to do is take this text element, which is a span, and swap it out for an anchor tag. Now the text is already getting set for the text element. That happens down below. All we really need to do is set the correct attribute value. So down here, text element dot, whoops, that's capital EL, dot set attribute, which we've already explored. We explored it when we created our checkbox dynamically. And the attribute we're trying to set is href, and the value we're trying to use is / edit.html. Excellent. And there we go. That's all we had to do to get the links showing up. Right here, we have links for each note. If I click the first one, I get brought over to the edit page. If I go back and click the link for the second one, I go to the exact same page. So this is the first part of the process done. We're also going to do the exact same thing down below when someone clicks create note. When they create a note, we are going to create the note and add it to local storage. Then we're immediately going to send them over to that edit page. To perform this redirect, we're going to be using another global variable provided to us by the browser, much like document is. This one is called location. And I am going to go ahead and pull it up in MDN. So right here, MDN, location. This is where we can learn more about the location object and all of the things it provides to us. Down below, for example, there are a bunch of properties, and all of these properties represent part of the URL. So we can actually just dump this in the console and view it. So if we ever want to see anything like document, we can just type it right here and view it. The same thing for location. This is a great way to explore what's available to you. And if I do open up location, I can see there are various properties, things like host, host name, href, origin, path name. We have all sorts of things that represent parts of the URL up above. For example, port just represents the port portion of that URL. Now, when it comes to actually changing this information, the location object provides us with the assign method. The assign method takes an argument, a string, and that string value is basically the same as what you would put in an href attribute value. So let's see this down below. Location.assign. It's a function, so we're going to call it as such, and it takes just a single argument right here in quotes, the URL we're trying to go to. Once again, we could provide an explicit URL. I could say something like http:// and then I could go to google.com again. And if I go ahead and actually run this code as we see here, it is going to bring me over to google.com. So that's the first way we can use location.assign. We can provide the entire URL just like we saw with the href attribute. We can also switch that up a little bit. So we can use the up arrow key to cycle in the last command, and all I'm going to do is replace what we have inside of the quotes. We're going to provide a relative URL instead. So /, then edit.html. This is all we need in order to get the user over to that edit page. If I actually go ahead and run this, I can see I am brought over to the edit page, and this is exactly what we want to do after we create the new note and save it into local storage. You go ahead and take a few moments to knock that out. You're going to add a location.assign method call somewhere inside of our file at the correct position. When someone clicks the create note button, the last thing we should do is redirect them. So right here, it looks like the page is taking a second to load. Let me make sure my server didn't crash. Okay, we are good to go. I click the create note button. I see the new note gets created, but I'm not getting redirected. Take a few seconds to add in a method call that actually redirects. Pause the video, and when you're done, click play. All right, all you had to do for that one was add a single location.assign method call. Now, where exactly do we do all of this? Well, in the notes app file, we have the code that responds to that create note click. We add a new item to the array. We then save our notes. We then render the notes. What we want to do as the last thing is to call location.assign. Where are we trying to send them? We're trying to send them to /edit.html. Now think about this. We do need to do these two steps because this is what actually saves the data in local storage. But do we need to re-render the notes to this page if we're immediately just going to go to a different page? And the answer is no. So we can actually remove the render notes call from here. This is going to have the exact same functionality. If we go ahead and save things, we can actually test our work. So we should start off with those 3 notes, which we do. I click create note, and I see I'm brought over to the edit page. And if I do go back, I do see that there is a 4th note indeed created. So now we have all of the systems in place to get the user to the right location, to get them over to that edit page. What we still need to worry about, though, is how the edit page is going to know which note the user wants to edit. Well, to fix this, what we're going to do is actually provide the notes ID as part of the URL. So to mess around with what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and switch over to the edit page, and we're going to add to the URL what's known as the hash. The hash comes after a hash, and then we provide a value. So in our case, we're going to provide the note ID right here. Let's say the ID is TRE009, for example. If we go ahead and actually visit this page, we can see we're still seeing the edit page. Even if I manually refresh things, we're brought back to the exact same location. So the hash isn't going to change which page loads, but we now have access to this information. So on that page, we can use a bit of JavaScript to extract the data, and then we can fetch the correct note from local storage. So once again, let's go ahead and print that location object to the console. Right here, location. And if we dig into the location object, the property we're looking for is called hash. The hash property contains the hash portion of the URL, which in this case is the hash sign followed by TRE009. So being able to provide the ID in the URL like this is going to be essential. In the next video, we're actually going to extract this information using that property and then get the correct notes information showing up. To wrap up this video, all you're going to do is provide the ID following this URL structure for all of the notes. So whether I click a notes link or whether I click that create note button to generate a new one. There are 2 steps for this one, and I'll paste them over in one of our JavaScript files right here. Step 1 is to set up the link href to include the hash that also has the ID afterwards. And then step 2 is set up the assign call to include the hash with the ID afterwards, just like we've seen up above. So you're going to want to use a template string so you can get the actual to-do ID inside of there. For this example up above, you're going to have to store the ID on a variable first so you can reference it here and so you can reference it down below. Take some time to knock this one out and then test your work. Over inside of the main home page, you should be able to click any of the notes here and see the ID correctly populated in the URL. You should also be able to click create note and see the ID in that URL as well. All right, pause the video, come back, and when you're done, click play. How'd that one go? I'm going to start with step 2 since I'm already in the correct file. Right here we have our create note button. What we're going to do is create a const called ID, and set it equal to, and we're just going to call UU ID v4. Now what we need to do is actually reference the ID variable right here. And then we're also going to reference it down below in our URL. I'm going to swap this out for a template string. So we can inject the ID /edit.html just like we had before. Then we're going to add on our hash, and we are going to inject, using the $ and the curly braces, the ID variable's value. So that is it for step 2. We can go ahead and actually test this out before worrying about the other part of the challenge. Over here, I'm going to create a note. And what do I see? I do see the ID of the note as part of the URL, so I would be able to correctly save the data changes for that note in local storage. Now I want to go back to the home page and worry about these links, which currently do not include the ID. I'm going to remove the comments down below and move into the correct file for that one, which is the functions file. In here, we have access to the note via the argument, which means down below we can use note.id when generating the URL. Template string /edit.html hash, then we inject note.id. Excellent. And that should be it. We have both parts of the challenge complete. If I click one of those notes, I do see it brings me over to the edit page, and I do have the notes ID injected. And that's going to bring this video to a close. We have the edit page set up. We're correctly getting the user over to the edit page, and we're passing in the ID so the edit page knows which note to edit. We're going to continue on working on the form in the next one, so stay tuned, and I'll see you then.